There he is.
All right.
Welcome, everybody. We are back. This is our third season. I'm your host, Jay Hill, and my co host, Shane Peak. Hello, everyone. And we want to say that we're really appreciative of people kind of being patient with us. And, we took the summer off and we had to do a lot of stuff and get some stuff taken care of and spend some time with family. And now, we're back at it. Usually in the cold months, but it is what it is. So tonight we have, for our first episode of season 3, we have Nate Elwell. Excuse me. Gosh, I don't need to be getting sick either. So, paranormal investigator. I can give you a little bit of a rundown with him. He is the founder of a couple paranormal teams. One in Alabama, one in New Hampshire. So, without further ado, let's get started and invite him on.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how goes it?
Right.
How goes it?
It's good.
It's going good.
So, can you guys hear me all right? This is my first
Yeah.
time actually using my laptop for this. I usually use my phone, but I'm hoping I get better connection with the laptop.
Yeah, it's great.
That's cool. Yeah. No, you're good.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
real good. I'm just using laptop too, so.
Yeah,
He always uses laptop. So.
I got it for Christmas. I had a Inspiron for a while, and then the battery kept dying on me, and I got tired of replacing it. So,
Cool.
Yeah. Right on. So, how you doing, Nate?
not bad. Just got over being sick. I just heard you mention you're hoping you don't get sick, so I just got over being sick.
Yeah, and I got the Rona right now, so I'll be a little bit,
Unfortunately,
gravelly.
yeah, and I know how that feels. Unfortunately, I've actually had that 3 times so far.
Oh, this is my
Holy crap!
This is my
dude.
third time.
So. It's rough.
Yep.
Yeah.
The first 2 times wasn't that bad, but that last time I got it, I was in bed for like 3 days, and I'd never get laid up like that.
So for me, it's getting better each time. The first couple times I had it was pretty bad, but now it's just like a cold kind of.
So mine's like exact opposite, because the first time I couldn't taste anything, I couldn't smell anything, and that's all I had.
She couldn't taste anything for like 2 months.
Yeah, second time I just couldn't smell anything, and then the third time, like, it laid me out.
Oof.
Wow, that sucks, man. Yeah. So, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself? So the people who are watching don't know what you do and some of your experiences as of late.
Yeah, so my name is Nate Elwell, as I already told you, or Nathan Elwell, whichever you prefer. I'm the founder of the Southeastern Ghost Research Association out of Alabama, where I lived for 21 years. And we recently moved to New Hampshire about 8 or 9 years ago, and I founded the Newport Paranormal Society. I do a lot of TikTok stuff. I do a lot of paranormal debunking videos on TikTok, where I go through and I find videos on the platform, and then I break them down to more logical solutions compared to what they're actually trying to portray it as.
Sure.
And then I also do a YouTube channel where I download paranormal applications to my smartphone, and I test applications to see which ones actually work and which ones don't.
Yeah, not many of them do.
I found a few, but most of them don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want information on certain apps and certain things of equipment, Shane is the man to talk to, because Shane, give him a little bit of a rundown of what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a paranormal investigator, freelance style, but I do things way different than every paranormal investigator really does them. I do them more like you would see at a research lab or in a university. So
yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So I build my own equipment and I write my own software. And so I built this thing, we kind of call it the device, that records 20 some different environmental parameters every second and stores them in a file that then you can do statistical math on to look for anomalies. So I have a very deep understanding of programming, phone stuff. I've written some of my own phone apps, not for paranormal, but for other things. So when I see phone apps, most of them I'm like, that's a joke.
And I will agree with you. A lot of the ones that I've tested are absolute garbage. I have found a few that did surprise me, like the iOvilus app, which is put out by Digital Dowsing, who's a company that's been around for years.
Yep.
That one actually kind of surprised me. I'm still leery on it. But I will say, when I was down in my basement testing it, word came through that said picture and it said remove. So I took a picture where I removed this old little cast iron baseball figurine that I found in my basement while I was metal detecting. And right after that, and like you can watch it live in the video, I caught a picture of a mist in that exact area.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So that one right there, like I'm iffy on it still. And there's another one called the Ghost Hunting Tools application. That one I actually really like because I took it out to Medfield State Hospital in Medfield, Massachusetts. And we got multiple names, and I was actually able to trace back historically to the location of either someone who worked there or someone who died in the facility.
Interesting.
Oh. Wow.
But those are pretty much my go-to, like those two. The rest of them,
Now, some of the apps that I use the infrasound recorder, which records sounds below human hearing. I use the voice recorder app as a voice recorder. I use the flashlight app because it's cheesy.
Hey, it works.
What's the other stuff? I use the temperature and barometric pressure app if your phone supports those sensors. I have used a couple of the EMF recorder apps. But I have a way to actually test when they work or not because I have lab equipment to test them with. So I can put my phone near the piece of lab equipment and be like, all right, it should be getting this reading. If it gets this number, it works. If it don't get that number, it's bunkus.
And I like that. I like it when you can actually take something and put it into a more scientifically controlled environment because now you're attempting to remove variables that can cause interference.
Absolutely.
And I absolutely respect that. And I like that. I like the way you do that.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah. So that's why we're kind of like the yin and yang when it comes to paranormal stuff. Me being a medium myself, and then he's kind of the scientist, and we kind of feed off each other in different information. With you, I think going through to different locations, like I haven't been to many locations as of late, but there's been some that I have to kind of scratch my head about, but I wanted to ask you, since COVID started, do you think that some of the issues have ramped up or some of the issues haven't ramped up? Or
so that is a very interesting question. And in a way, you can look at it in two different dynamics, okay? Number one, you can look at it as, has anything ramped up? Or are we just home more so we experience more?
Right.
That's a valid point. I saw that in an article recently.
So that would be my guess. It's not necessarily things are ramping up. It's just people are home more. So now they're going to notice things that they weren't noticing before. So I don't think the pandemic has made anything as far as activity ramp up. I just think people are home more. So they have more reason to question what's going on.
Yeah, and they're watching more ghost shows. Yeah, because they got nothing else to do. So they're sitting there watching these paranormal, never-ending paranormal shows.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Podcast, buddy.
Oh, I apologize. It can wait.
Okay, sorry guys.
That's all good.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Nate. I think it doesn't no rhyme or reason. It just people are home more. Having said that, let's get into some of the methods that you're using right now at a location, and let's tell us how you've gotten some information or stuff that you. So
one of my favorite things, I'm an audio guy. Like I love going over audio. I will sit there and go over audio for days. You don't.
I'll send you about a terabyte of it. You can sit there and listen.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I will gladly help you. Hang on one second. Someone open the door. It wouldn't bother me if they would shut it. But so I'm recently starting to acquire more of this, I guess you could say, pop culture friendly equipment. I recently got an SBS7. I had never had one before, and I'm still not a firm believer in it. I'm still not sure if I'd buy it. I feel like there is too many variables for interference, whether or not you're sweeping through. So are a lot of the answers coincidental, or are they actually spirits? I think that a lot of it can be broken down to mere coincidence. I kind of want to take it and I want to do a more in-depth skeptical side, I guess you could say, investigation into this piece of equipment, because people have become so dependent on it, because that's what you see on paranormal shows. And from someone who's been interviewed for 4 different paranormal shows, I can promise you how they happen on TV is not how they happen in person. What you're seeing is not how it goes.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I would agree.
They film for 20 hours to get a half-hour program.
There's so much that's cut.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't know exactly how they're ordering, and you don't know how they're ordering during editing either.
Sure.
So you may be seeing something that looks like an experience, but they might be asking a question, and then the response that they're splicing in during editing could have happened 5 hours later.
Correct.
You really don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And CGI being what it is, you know.
Right. Right. You know, and so I used to have an SV7. I wasn't really a fan of it. So I had actually purchased another one from another company in Scotland, and it was kind of a refurbished, like a classic radio. It's pretty small. I have used it a couple times, and the one time I did use it, something came out of it that you would never say on the radio. Okay,
And that
I've
does
had
happen.
that multiple times.
you know what I mean? And I just and being where we were at, there shouldn't have been any type of interference with that, you know. And it was just a couple words, and it related to actually to me, and I was like, okay, you know. So
I feel like you can definitely argue. You can definitely argue the skeptic's outlook if it's a more personal response that you're getting. If it's something that straight means something to you, then definitely I would question that.
Right. You know, and I haven't used it much more after that. I plan on it, but yeah, it was just one of those. It was actually the first time I turned it on, and so yeah, it was pretty cool. But I was actually showing a friend of mine this whole thing, and he was just he was a skeptic, you know, and he's kind of like, I don't know how this works, and I'm not sure about this, but that's kind of why I did it, because the fact that I kind of wanted his opinion,
right?
You know, just like if I was to take it to Shane and say, what do you think? And I pretty much know what he would say, you know. So, but you know, but that's the way it has to be. It's kind of like a double, you know, two sides. There's two sides to every story. You know what I mean? And so that's the way I look at it. You know, it can't be, you can't get into one group and all of a sudden everybody agrees and you're like, oh, yay. You know, it doesn't, that's non-productive. You know what I mean? You've got to have that opposition, because there's got to be questions asked.
You have to have a balanced group.
You have to have that balance. And if you don't have that balance, then everything is just my way or no way. You know,
and along with that balance, you have to have people who are open-minded to criticism as well. You see that a lot, way too much in the paranormal field. Someone will post something on Facebook. Hey, what's your opinion? You give them your opinion, and they get offended over your opinion.
Oh yeah, they get mad.
Right.
They don't
like
post.
Gas
right.
on fire.
If you're going to post something that you think that you believe in, always be prepared to have that opposition to come against you, saying, you know what, I mean, not that somebody needs to be an ass.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
no.
I mean, there's actually too much of that going around right
Way
now.
too much.
And yeah, it's getting out of hand. But
You can disagree with someone and put it tactfully.
Correct.
I agree. Yeah.
It's all about how you word it.
Right. Totally. So let's get into a little bit from the beginning here. Kind of go back a little bit. Let's say, what was your first experience in the paranormal?
So I've been all over the place. Okay. I was born in New Hampshire. We moved from New Hampshire to Las Vegas. We moved from Las Vegas to Oklahoma, from Oklahoma to Texas, from Texas to Alabama, and then back to New Hampshire. So we drove through every single state. We didn't fly or anything. We drove. So I've literally been to every state in the United States besides Alaska and Hawaii. So every state in the continental United States I've been to. Mm-hmm. And my first experience that I can recall with the paranormal was actually in Las Vegas, where we had acquired a Ouija board. And I don't remember how we acquired it. And I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that these things are inherently evil, because I don't believe they are. I believe it's the intent that you have while using it that can draw things. I
agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe there's any harm in having one. I don't believe there's any harm in using one. Just make sure your intentions are correct when doing so. Mm-hmm. And so we, for some reason, had this Ouija board. I don't remember how we acquired it. I was quite young. And we were outside using it. And we actually had smoke come out from underneath the board.
Oh,
never seen that happen before. And you know what?
I haven't.
I can tell you this. I can look at you and I can tell you, anyone out there watching this right now could be like, yeah, this guy's crazy. If you weren't there and you didn't experience it, you wouldn't understand it.
Right.
I still don't understand it. But I can tell you that my father, he broke the board in half and the next
Huh.
morning it was back together on the counter.
Oh,
That's not good.
Never seen that happen before. I thought he was playing a prank on us. I thought he broke it and went and got another one to try and teach us a lesson because he didn't like it.
right.
No, it was the same one. He tried to burn it. It wouldn't burn. Don't know why.
Wow.
Really?
And so
Holy
what
That's crazy.
we ended up doing was giving it to someone. Now, I hate to do that, but that's what we ended up doing, and it never came back. That was my first experience that I can remember with anything paranormal related.
Okay.
Sure.
So what got me into investigating the paranormal was an occurrence that I had in Alabama. So we used to have a pit bull named Stormy. She would sleep in my room every night with me. Well, she got to the point where old age just kind of took over and she could no longer control her bodily functions. And she had an accident on my bed. I kicked her out of the room that night, and I'm OCD about doors. Like, I just got up to shut that door a few minutes ago. I don't like doors open. I shut every single door in the house. It drives my girlfriend crazy. Don't like open doors. So I go to bed, and I feel this tugging on my blanket. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of weird. I ignored it, went to sleep. Next night, Stormy comes to come in the room. I kicked her out because she had an accident the night before. Well, she ended up passing away that night.
Oh.
And the following night was where stuff kind of got weird because I laid down in bed. It was about, I don't know, midnight-ish. And I felt that tugging that I felt a few nights ago on my blanket. I'm sitting there thinking, well, what the world's Stormy chewing on down there? Not realizing, hey, she's no longer here. So I kicked my foot back. I hit something solid. My foot hit something. Mind you, I didn't have a headboard. I didn't have a footboard. Even nothing there for me to kick. And I heard something say my name.
Oh.
I roll over, turn the light on. My closet door is wide open. When I know for a fact it was shut. And
Wow.
every day for the next probably 5 months, there would be a tapping on my window. 3 taps in sets of 3s on my bedroom window for about 5 months. Every day between the hours of 2:30 and 3:30. My cousin didn't believe me, so I invited him down to stay the night. And he experienced this 4 times himself. And he thought I was going nuts. He thought I was playing a prank on him. He got up, he opened up the blinds. He's like, there's no one out here. I said, I know. That's what I've been telling you.
Interesting.
And as quickly as it started, it stopped.
Wow.
It just cut off. And then fast forward, probably 4 years later, I got married. Me and my ex-wife were laying in the bed. I got home from work. I used to work night shift. I got home from work at about 1:30, maybe 2 o'clock. Laid down, I drifted off to sleep. I woke up and had a bout of sleep paralysis. I couldn't move. Am I saying that this wasn't in a hallucinatory dream? No, because I could have very well be picturing something in my head. Because you know what? Sleep paralysis, it does strange things. So I finally shook it off. And when I sat up, there was what appeared to be a figure standing at the foot of the bed that drifted backwards into the hallway. The only thing that makes me question whether or not this was a real experience and not a dream was the light bulb in the hallway, when it dissipated, got extremely bright and exploded.
Oh.
And I had to go physically vacuum up the glass. So I know that happened.
Interesting.
Wow.
And that's kind of what got me into it,
yeah.
actually investigating.
Right. So do you think that some of the stuff that you've experienced, do you think that it's something that has happened since, like, let's go back. Okay, hang on. So let's say we go back to when you were a kid. Did you have something besides the Ouija board, besides that incident happen at all?
Not that I can recall. My mother did tell me that at one point we lived in a hotel, or not a hotel, but an apartment building up here that was haunted. She said my brother used to get up in the middle of the night and roll marbles down the stairs with the old lady who used to live there.
Yeah, because that's why I was asking, because of that, I kind of got the sense that something maybe have happened in your family or with you when you were younger that kind of maybe opened you up a little bit to that. You know what I mean? And maybe unbeknownst to yourself.
And that's very possible. I can tell you that the apartment that my mother used to tell us about, or used to tell me about my brother getting up and rolling the marbles down the stairs. I know that they tore that apartment down 5 or 6 years ago. They finally tore down those apartment buildings, and they found roughly like 800 marbles under the staircase.
Wow.
That's cool.
So
awesome.
I have no doubt the experience happened. I was just an infant, so I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Wow.
And I mean, it could have been something like that opened me up to it.
I'm kind of gathering that that's kind of what it is, but when I kind of look at you, most of my guests, I look into them, you know, because of who I am. So
I like
I don't get personal or nothing like that, but I just kind of you get little bits of information. But with you, I just think that you're really open to a lot of different things. But because of the fact that you have that opposition of trying to find the truth instead of just taking everything that you get, you know what I mean? And that,
Yep.
and opening yourself up to that and saying, okay, I'm looking for the truth, not just what everybody thinks it is. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
it's kind of just one of those things, and that's kind of your makeup. And when I asked you to be on the show, every time that I've been in other rooms and you've always said hi to me, and you've always, you know, like when you talk to Adam or whoever, you know, Adam Began.
Adam's a good guy.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah, he's been a very good friend of ours, and we love him to death. And
Adam's great.
you know, yeah. So when I had seen he was on your show and this and that, and I'm like, and there was something about you. I'm like, you know, I need to ask Nathaniel that if I can have him come on the show. And
I greatly appreciate the invite.
Yeah, and for you, I just think that this is just one of the things that, you know, I would like to work with you. Get together sometime. Where do you live now?
I live in New Hampshire.
Okay. All right. So one of these days when I get to go see Adam, which I'm planning on doing sometime, I don't know when, but
yeah, he's up in Maine, so he's like maybe 6-hour drive from me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but talking, you know, to you and kind of and realizing, you know, you've got a good aura, a good vibe. You know what I mean? So that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you on the show, and I wanted to make something meaningful for the first episode on season 3. And because the fact that, you know, your opinion on finding the truth instead of, you know, kind of debunking and, you know, just do some of this stuff that, you know, the truth-based stuff, you know, it's not all about show, you know.
Go ahead.
You know, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say I just kind of feel like, you know, the paranormal is an oversaturated market.
Oh,
you know? You got
100%
people
agree.
out there who just try to sell everything. I mean, you got these people out there that do spirit box sessions with someone who died 24 hours ago, trying to.
It doesn't work that way.
And I hate that. I'm not going to mention the group by name. I know exactly who does it, and I think it's distasteful.
Yeah, I agree.
No room in the paranormal.
And for anybody doesn't know about that, there's when somebody passes away, there's a transitional time frame. It varies between different people, but for the most part, it's a little bit distance, and you've got to, you know, not necessarily that you're going to not get anything, but there's that transition. People don't understand that transition is key.
Well, and even if they are on the other side, it's just rude.
It's kind of like they go through the door and they've got all this stuff, and then all of a sudden somebody's knocking on the door going, "Hey, can we talk to you?" You know, it's like, dude,
that's just rude.
Yeah, you're right.
I kind of feel like if there was ever a celebrity that would have came through as far as in a way of a spiritual form of communication already, it would have been Harry Houdini. A lot of people, Harry Houdini, you know, he was an avid debunker. He would go and he tried his best to disprove the spiritualist movement back when that was going on. And he even gave his wife a special keyword.
Yep,
that he said that when I die, try to contact me and I will come through with the keyword. And from my understanding, descendants of Harry Houdini still hold a seance on his death.
And they never work.
And they never work.
No, they don't. And his big thing for Harry Houdini, I think, was because of the fact that he was one of the best magicians ever. And I think that personally, his thing that he did not like was the spiritualist movement. You know, he thought they were all charlatans and they were, you know, trying to take advantage of people. So if you actually think about it, for him to actually say that, saying, you know, I'll give you a keyword or whatever, he's probably like, I ain't going to say anything. You know, he's probably like, I can't stand this stuff, so why would I even give him any?
He's probably going to be like, yeah,
I'm not going to give you any fuel for your fire. Heck no, you know. But he made that statement for a reason.
Right.
Sure.
You know, and that I think his reason was, I'm going to prove to you that this is BS.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, him
You
and
know?
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle used to fight
Yep.
about this all the time.
Yeah. You know, God,
It's so
just-
interesting when you look back through the history and you see all these prominent figures who are into this movement and or against the movement, and it's
Right.
like people you wouldn't even
Right.
you wouldn't think it.
Right.
Yep.
Right. No, I researched some of the spiritualist movement, and it's really interesting. You know, it's pretty cool. I mean,
It is an interesting
With-
concept.
right, with everything, there are charlatans everywhere for not just paranormal. I mean, for car salesmen, you know, for selling something online, you know, I mean, or you know, doing a service. I mean, there's people that are fakes.
Yeah.
Oh,
some
yeah.
Snake oil
You know
stuff.
what I mean? So yeah, that's the best way to say it. Snake oil.
And I agree
so-
with you 100%. I mean, even in the paranormal, you see that. You know, you have teams that go out and they
Right.
charge families to come in and help them. I've never charged a dime in my 16 years of
No.
investigating the paranormal.
No,
I never
no,
have.
No.
I don't do it because I feel like if I charge someone and they pay me, they're paying me to do a job. So if I don't bring results, then I failed at my job. If
Mhm.
they're not, if I'm not charging them anything, then I can bring them legitimately what I find, whether or not it's
Right.
nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and speaking of snake oil, I've even found even products out there. You know, recently I had a friend bring me one of their REM pods, a knockoff REM pod. You know, and they're like, "Hey, man, I got this thing for like a quarter the price of the normal REM pod. Does it work?" Da, da, da. And so, and we messed around with it for a while, and it lit up. It did its thing. We're like, "This is kind of cool, but okay." So finally, I just got my Leatherman out and I started taking it apart. Of course, this guy was kind of freaking out a little bit. I took it all apart and I started looking up the chip numbers that were on the circuit board. Well, after a very quick Google search, I found out that basically all it did was randomly flash the lights and make sounds, and that chip was actually a random number generator that just basically random intervals of time it would flash the lights and make the sound. And
Right.
it had nothing to do with whether there's anything in the air. There was no sensors. There was no
Right.
nothing.
That's crazy.
And I
Right,
was like,
and-
well,
yeah.
you got gypped on this one, buddy.
And if I'm not
Right.
mistaken, I do know that like when you see these huge paranormal teams on TV using REM pods, you know, a lot of them carry around radios. Radios have a habit of setting those
Right.
off.
Absolutely.
Right,
So do
right.
cell phones.
It's
Yep,
cell
cell
phones,
phones,
right?
mode.
Yep. Yeah, I have a real REM pod that I purchased.
Yeah,
I
and the
paid
real
money
ones
for it.
actually do have a sensor in them that sense static static
Right.
fields.
Right. So basically, from my understanding, I've never actually physically taken one apart like you have, which I think is pretty awesome. From my understanding, it's basically like a junior Thermain kit, just kind of fancy packaged, right?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
an ion detector. If you want to really get scientific about it, literally it looks for particles that either have not enough or too many electrons. And if they're in the air,
Right.
static, think of them like rubbing your shirt and then touching the doorknob. You get the shot.
So that's another good example of talking about the charlatan type thing right there. You know, people out there charging what, $200, $250 for these REM pods when you can buy
Yeah.
a junior Thermain kit for $20 on Amazon.
Correct. I mean,
Right.
they have a few other little parts in them to make
But
them
you could probably get
light
those
up
parts.
and do some things, but really, you know, they're just static field sensors. And yeah, that, you know, if you
Right.
get close to them, they actually work. Now,
Right.
if you have
Right.
a fake one, it'll just go whenever it feels like it because it's just random.
That's
I mean,
actually really cool. I didn't even know
So-
that they
I
had
didn't even
things like
put
that.
it back together for him. I just handed him the pile
Oh,
of wires.
nice.
I'm like,
That-
dude, this ain't worth nothing. I'm sorry.
I like
That's
it.
probably rude.
Yeah.
Is it rude or is it, you know, yeah, you don't have the time to put it back together if it's not real, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Plus, I
Right.
don't want him to
If
use
it's
it for
garbage,
anything.
then it belongs in the garbage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. But so let me ask you, Nate, talk about one of your coolest moments in investigating a haunted location, but with a funny twist.
So I think one of my favorite moments that I ever had was from a very small location. Not many people know about it. It's in a small town called Elba in Coffee County, Alabama.
Okay.
So Elba is home to the old Coffee County Jail, which had a bullpen style setup upstairs. So it basically was like an open cell block with just beds. Downstairs, they have the original 5 cells and 1 solitary cell. So funny thing about this is we go in and we're the first team ever to be allowed in there. Now, I did not know until we went in that we were actually investigating the jail on the 40th anniversary of the sheriff's death. Now, Sheriff Grantham was actually shot to death on the front steps of the jail by an inmate he released the day before. So we were investigating it, 40th anniversary of his death. We go, and we're not having much going on. Like, we hear a few footsteps, going up the metal staircase. That's about what we got going on. I'm like, you know what? I want to go into the solitary and do some audio work. We can't get the door open. Like, the hinges are rusted shut.
Huh.
So we went and got some WD-40, a pry bar, and took 4 of us and like 3 cans of WD-40 to get the hinges. Like, we could open it. We get it open. I go in there. I sit down. I'm doing audio work. I'm not in there 10 minutes. And I swear to God, the door that just took 4 of us to open slammed shut. And I was stuck in there for an hour.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that was not a fun experience.
Yeah, next time I want to put something in that door.
Right?
It can't
So,
shut.
When it's shut, I really wish I would have got it on camera because I had a camera set up on the door, but battery drained, which is common.
All right.
Yeah.
But I do still have the piece of audio where I'm sitting in the cell and it shuts, and I'm like, oh, holy
Yeah.
Not what I was expecting to happen.
Hey,
That'll
Plus side
serve you.
is I didn't die. I'm still here.
Right,
So
right.
speaking of fun stuff, you just mentioned a cool experiment that I often do at investigations. So the battery drain theory. Most of the time, people probably won't like that I'll say this, but I'm going to say 90% of the time, they either didn't change the batteries, they said they did, or they bought cheap dollar store batteries.
Right.
Because here's what happens. I take brand new pack of batteries with me. When I get to the investigation, I measure their voltage with a voltmeter, and I write them down, and I set the cells on the sheets of paper where I wrote it down.
that's smart.
Then at the end of the investigation, because I'll take them around with me, at the end of the investigation, I'll measure them all again. Every one of them has been exactly the same.
Interesting.
From every investigation. And I don't even know how many dozens of investigations I've done.
I've been on investigations that haven't batteries to run dry, but they were brand new.
So with that theory theory there, would I say it's battery drain, or could I just say it was a glitch in the camera and the camera shut down?
That
And
could be that.
I think that could be too. Yeah, it could be a couple different things. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
But that's definitely an interesting experiment.
And it's free. I mean, cheap and sometimes easy to do. All you need is
I might
free
digital
and cheap is all
voltmeter.
right.
I'm gonna steal that technique from you just to let you know.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, it's something you can do. And plus, if your equipment does die for some reason, you have brand new batteries sitting there.
True.
Because I've never found at one single investigation have I ever found more than a few hundredths of a volt change. And that's just the error of the meter.
And that's not going to affect anything really.
No.
No.
So
No.
it's like, all right, well, I mean, whatever, guys. Maybe buy better batteries or actually change them when you said you did.
Right.
And that's one thing I will say. I don't use rechargeable batteries, obviously, except for cameras.
Yes, agreed.
Camera batteries get expensive, but like those rechargeable AAAs and AA's, I won't buy them.
They're too low a voltage for most equipment, and it acts weird anyway. So
It does. They
stay away from it.
I don't trust them.
I agree with you.
So, at the time of the point and show, we have a few viewers. So, if anybody has any questions for any of us, feel free to comment, and let's see if we can't get a few answered.
Sure.
Shane's going to be out of here in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I can stay till 8.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, because they moved my meeting back to 8:30. So,
Oh,
Oh,
see?
nice.
See how that works? Okay.
so we even have an extra few minutes if we need it.
All right. Awesome. So, yeah. So, while we wait for somebody to get questions going here, let's see.
So Shane,
that was the private message you sent me. Oh.
Yeah.
So Shane, have you ever been to a location that was supposedly really popular for paranormal activity and just been sheerly disappointed?
Oh yes.
You
Most
got a
of them.
list?
I know
mean-
that's happened to me a few times.
See, the thing with me is I don't go for the experiences so much because, I'm psychically is about like a rock.
Right.
I don't pick up on things. People say, oh, yeah, I feel that. No, I don't know. Whatever.
Right.
I hold the measurement device out. I don't know. It seems the same to me. So anyways, But yeah, because I do everything with math and statistics and computers and things like that, the data I collect is all pretty much objective. People don't get a chance to do anything to the results. It's not how I feel or what's happening. It's what were the measurements, you
Right.
know?
And that's not a bad way to be.
Yeah.
Was it uh the Degrassi Tyson? Didn't he bring up something about the ghost frequency
Yes.
where he
Yeah.
thought there was a certain decibel that could cause visual hallucinations, and
Absolutely there is. And that's fact that you can actually go to a medical journal and just look it up. It's like seven
Right.
basically frequencies that are multiples of the brain's alpha, beta, gamma, theta frequencies. Those ones, if you produce sound or EMF at those frequencies and put it close to a person's head, they will have feelings of presence. They will feelings of cold or warm. They'll have pretty much all the things that you get with the typical ghost stories.
See, that was an experiment I was looking at running here within the next few weeks. Is I kind of want to take that frequency, put it into some headphones, and then sit downstairs.
It's very easy to do. You can just look it up, and
I've got
it's like 7 hertz, 14 hertz.
Yeah, I've got the frequency saved in my computer. I just hadn't had a chance to do it yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll work.
I was just more curious of your opinion on it. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's totally scientifically proven. You can get research papers on it. Matter of fact, there's going to be some of that in a book I'm working on with some other people. We're going to talk all about that. So
Yeah.
nice.
So we got Virgil asking what is Nate's favorite location he's ever been to.
My favorite location I've ever been to, investigation wise, was Sloss Furnaces in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
I love that place. Amazing location, amazing history. Non-investigation wise, I really enjoyed going to the Omni Mount Washington Hotel.
Okay.
That place is beautiful.
oh yeah, I imagine it's cool.
Yeah. Right.
And yeah, investigation wise, it would most likely be Sloss Furnaces in Birmingham or the Castillo de San Marcos in St. Augustine.
Okay. Have you ever been to the Stanley Hotel?
I have not.
I have twice, and I tell you what, that place is amazing.
I've not had the pleasure to go there yet. I've not yet had a chance to go to a lot of the places in the central United States. I've not been to Waverly Hills or Bobby Mackey's or anywhere like that, unfortunately. I was supposed to go over to Rolling Hills Asylum last year and ended up having to cancel.
Okay.
I got invited to go over to another place last weekend, but I wasn't able to do that either, unfortunately.
That's
sometimes life comes up. I've got kids, I got work, so I mean,
yeah, I know.
Takes precedence. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right.
You can't investigate without money.
Yeah, I figured that out too.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Shane, do you want to talk about your book or no?
I can't say too much about it because it hasn't been published yet, but
Okay.
yeah, we're doing some pretty good stuff. I will tell the audience that the book will not be for the average investigator. I wouldn't say it reads like a science paper, but it's fair. Well, think of it as a slightly dumbed down science paper. So it's got a lot of references. It's got a lot of a little bit of math. It's got some stuff in it. I mean, it's for the person that's been doing this for years and years and years and wants to try the next level.
Seasoned investigator, basically.
Seasoned investigator that maybe has a small amount of, college education kind of stuff. I mean, has seen papers before, has read some science papers before. I mean, it'll be a big book. It's going to be
right up my alley.
Several hundred pages, but the
Right.
content will not be the typical ghost hunter, how to be a ghost hunter book. It's going to be
Right.
now that you're a ghost hunter and you've burned out everything you've tried to do for years and years and years. Here's some other cool new experiments you can do, and some different takes from PhD level people, because everybody else on our team's PhD that are writing this book. We got actual psychologists, we got some biochemists. So this is not a typical book.
See, that sounds like something that would be right up my alley.
As soon as it comes out, I'll get you guys links to it, and you can go get it from
yeah.
Amazon or whatever.
Awesome.
So,
It'll be reasonable price.
when's Nate's book coming out? I'm excited to read it. By the way, this is his daughter.
I'm well aware that I'm well aware of who that was, by the way. But so my book, most likely, I'm aiming for mid-year publication of this coming year. So
that's about when ours will be.
So I wrote a book on my experiences and my thought process, like the behind the scenes of my paranormal stuff that I do on YouTube with the app testing.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically took my experiences, took my opinions, and put them into a book. That's about the basics of it.
Right.
It's nothing
funny.
very.
It's funny that Shane's book and your book, and I actually have somebody who's going to help me writing a book for myself, and it's going to be more of a personal autobiography type of my life.
And I can help you with editing and stuff if you need that.
Yeah, and the guy that I have that's helping me, he's a coworker, and I would never have thought that he would have been able to, kind of just help me do that. But I, can't judge a book by its cover. So,
And it's really weird. It's really
sometimes
weird.
when you know people and you're like, I never knew you did that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, so it was pretty cool. So I'm going to be working on that.
I actually had no intention on writing this book, and that's the odd thing, is that's how it's kind of happened. I was at work, and at my job, I run a CNC machine that takes 14 hours to drill 1,000 holes in a plate. So I'm sitting there, literally just standing there all day doing nothing.
Right.
I'm no longer running the machine. I now program the machine. I'm actually in the office now.
Oh,
but
there you go.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do. I have a machine shop at my house here.
Nice. I run a kinetic machine, or I used to run a kinetic machine, and loved it. And so while I was out there watching it drill holes, I just started writing, and it just never stopped until I finished.
That's awesome. I'll look forward to it.
So basically, whether or not the book ever sells, I personally don't care if it does. I wrote it as a personal accomplishment.
Right.
And that's basically what we're doing.
So
we're not looking to make money.
Even if it sells a copy, that's great. If it doesn't sell a copy, you know what? I wrote a book. I'm accomplished by it. I'm good.
Right.
I'll tell you what, I'll send you one of ours and you send me one of yours, because I've done about the same time.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm in the editing phase. I've got my girlfriend's mother, who is actually a school teacher, or a former school teacher in Boston. She's doing all of my reading over, making sure I have everything grammatically correct and all the punctuations and all that good stuff are in place, because Lord knows I can't write. I can barely spell.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like the going rate these days. I mean, people, if people want to write a book, but then they don't think that, how can I write a book? Anybody can write a book. I mean, come on.
Sit down in front of your word processor and start pounding, and then
anybody that has a story to tell, and even if it's just a story, or even if it's something that can help somebody else, never think that.
And this is like
do that.
This was like my 5th attempt at writing a book, and I have every other book I've ever started to write, and I'm like 5 or 6 chapters in, and I just stopped for some, because I wasn't feeling it. It didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this one,
I find that later you can combine those, and it'll make one bigger book that's better.
Not a bad idea, because this one, it was effortless. I just started writing, and it just went.
That probably means it's good. So,
so far, the 2 people that I've actually sent it to that have actually read it, they loved it.
Good.
So the guy who penned the foreword for me, Matt Warner, he penned the foreword for me, and I've sent a copy to Adam Begin as well.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And Adam said he loved it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Adam's awesome. So,
yeah.
We need to get Adam back on our show again.
Yep.
But it's always a good time with him. So
he's always a good supporter.
I was on his show before.
He's a great supporter. He supports anyone who he firmly believes is doing this for the right cause.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's an absolutely great guy.
Oh yeah. And the fact that I love his history analogy of everything,
And it's so weird. It's like, I know if I have a history question that has to do with this area, that's who I go to.
That's who you go.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, there's been one time I've stumped him and I've asked him a question. He's like, I actually don't know about that location.
But he'll find out.
Oh, but he found out.
Yeah.
Found out a lot more than I did.
Right.
But no, he's definitely a great guy. I love Adam to death. I can't wait to actually finally meet him in person. We're trying to go over to do a Bigfoot hunt near my uncle's house. My uncle actually casted a Bigfoot footprint from his backyard a few months back.
Wow.
Okay.
And they heard rocks being thrown at the trailer, and he went out back and heard this really loud howl. And he was like, yeah, the hell with this. I'm going back inside. went back inside, went out the next morning and found a footprint that was 18 inches long and 5.5 inches wide.
Wow. Yeah.
And so him being a guy who does construction for a living, he just happened to have plaster. So he went out there and cast it.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
But he told me I could set up a tent in his backyard whenever I want and just have at it. But if it eats me, it's my fault.
Well, I mean, there's always that.
Just that.
Right.
I'm not sure if I firmly believe Bigfoot exists. I feel like,
It
I'm
seems
not
like with modern technology, we would have found them by now.
You would think. I mean, yes, they discover new creatures every day, but most of those are really small creatures. It's not something massive.
Yeah, and they're usually in like the jungle
or very
where
deep.
nobody's been.
Right.
So it's definitely an interesting concept. I mean, then you have the whole idea that they're interdimensional beings or whatever. Maybe. I feel like we'd find a skeleton by now, unless they bury the dead like we do. I feel like we would have found a skeleton by now, or there would be more than just shaky video footage.
Right.
Yeah. Or, all the people that hike all the time and stuff. I mean,
What
the
they
reports
see
are very, very, very small numbers.
Right.
You would see it more.
I feel like, is it possible? Well, you know what? Anything's possible. But I feel like we would have seen something more prominent by now, I feel.
Yeah.
But, well, we're about at the end of our time here. Wow, this hour flew by.
And that means it's good conversation.
Yeah, it's great. This is awesome.
So, Nate, why don't you tell people where they can find you and anything you got coming up and what to look forward to?
So you can find me on YouTube at Nate Elwell, or my handle is at Static Voices. A lot of people question that name. I use it because EVPs are voices that come through the static. So I just go up, that's my handle. Mm-hmm. And you can find me at TikTok on the same thing, Static Voices. I have Instagram, just search for Nate Elwell. I have Facebook, once again, search for Nate Elwell. I'm always willing to answer questions, so don't shy away from sending me a message if you have a question. But yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. I've got probably 40 new debunks for my TikTok channel in process.
Okay.
They do take time. I haven't released one. I took a small break. After I took sick with COVID the last time, I just never really caught back up, but I took a small break, but I'm going to be jumping back on that here shortly. Okay. And then the first of the year, I have a podcast of my own coming out, or a podcast of my own, where I'm going to be doing 1 hour live videos on TikTok, highlighting people in the paranormal that are less known than they probably should be.
Okay.
Interesting.
Nice.
So I'm hoping that goes out well. I've actually got enough people right now that I'm booked solid until late August.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So people took a huge interest in it.
Awesome. Well, congrats. That's awesome. And congrats on your book. And
thank you.
I want to thank everybody who tuned in. This has been a fantastic, great show for the first episode of season 3. We do have more coming. Probably I'll make an announcement of our next guest in a couple weeks, maybe a week. I'm not quite sure after that, but we kind of like to keep our audience riveted a little bit, kind of wondering who we got on next time.
I like that. I like it.
Yeah. So kind of a surprise, and sometimes it's a surprise to us. So,
yeah.
So yeah, but we want to thank everybody. We want to thank Nate very much for coming on and being our guest.
Anytime.
And,
this is awesome.
Yeah, and I want to thank Shane, even though he's under the weather. We hope that you feel better.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
So until next time, guys, take it easy.